Breaking news from Sacramento, California. Democrats just made your cost of living much more expensive. They voted to approve a new mileage tax, charging every driver in the state per mile that they drive, and that's on top of the sky-high gas taxes.
But here's where it gets really scary. How do they know how many miles you drove? Think about that. They got to track you somehow, right? And California's already got their fingers inside your car. You just didn't realize it. Every time you get a smog check, they plug into your car's computer. They know your mileage. Every time you take your car to the dealership for service, well, they download your data. They know your mileage. Every time you register your car, right there on the form, they know your mileage. But that's not enough for Sacramento. No. They want real-time tracking, GPS, a computer in your car that tells them not just how far you drove, but where you drove.
Let me tell you what California is fantastic at. It doesn't shock you anymore. No longer does California have to slam the doors shut. It just quietly moves the furniture until one day you wake up and realize you don't recognize the room. That's how control works now. No need for sirens. No need for announcements. Simply paperwork. And most people don't notice it until the bill shows up. Here's the pattern. First, the state tells you something is temporary, a pilot program, a study, a test. Then it becomes voluntary, optional. You can opt in. Then it becomes recommended, encouraged, incentivized. And finally, without much noise at all, it becomes standard. By the time the people push back, the question is no longer, should this exist? It's, how should it be implemented? That's the trick. You see, California doesn't frame rising costs as taxes anymore. It frames them as behavior correction. You're not being taxed. No, you're being guided. Hey, drive less. You gotta live closer. Consume differently, work differently. And if you can't, that's not the system's fault. That's your fault. So the price goes up and up and up and up and up. Not because roads are broken, not because budgets exploded, but because you didn't comply with the preferred lifestyle. Here's the part you won't hear on mainstream media. You won't hear from practically any politician, is that people with money can leave. People with money can adapt. They can restructure their lives. Working families cannot. You've got jobs tied to locations. You've got kids tied to schools. You've got rent tied to neighborhoods. Commutes tied to reality. So when the state experiments with new revenue ideas, guess who absorbs it? Not the wealthy, not the corporations. It's the people who cannot move, the people who still show up. And here's the deeper issue most people feel but can't articulate. It's not just about the money. It's the normalization of monitoring. You're told it's anonymous. You're told it's aggregated. You're told it's secure. But every system that measures behavior eventually gets used to judge behavior. That's not paranoia. That's history. Once tracking exists, the argument is never whether it should be used, only when. California does not have a revenue problem. California has a restraint problem. When money runs short, the solution is never cut programs, reduce bureaucracy, pause expansion. The solution is always just a little bit more. And guess who it's coming from? You. Again and again and again. Listen, this channel exists for one reason: to slow things down long enough for people to notice the pattern. The pattern is what matters, because once a system gets normalized, it doesn't matter how angry people get later. The paperwork is already filed, the infrastructure is already built, and the cost is already baked into your life.